Hello, I'm Jenny Fern and welcome to my library. I'm a chaotic neutral mechanical engineer who's really into permaculture and wants to talk about books. So let's talk about books. Today, I am running out of sunlight, so I can't film the other videos that I was gonna film, but I can start a reading vlog. So this is for my 500 subscriber special. Thank you so much for subscribing. I really appreciate all of you. Especially appreciative and genuinely it changes my life. Those of you who leave comments suggesting books. Again, I don't know how to stress this enough. It changes my life. So I have 5 books that I want to sample. I'm not committing to reading 5 books for this video. Well, let me be clear about that. But some of them I think I can complete and some of them I will be sampling. 1, The Library of Babel by Jorge Luis Borges. That's a short story. I thought that was a book. Got Louis screaming at the door, so I brought him over. I thought that The Library of Babel was a novel, so I looked it up in my library system to read it, but I guess I should have just looked up the author and found the collection that this is in. I found it online, so I'll be able to read that, and that was a suggestion on my Books About Math video by Kaistea or Kaisti or something like that. Then there's also Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, which I have a copy of, and somebody wanted to know what I thought about it. Geraldine Granger. So I will be reading maybe the first chapter or so of that. There was also a recommendation by Megan Stanbridge, which I just have to give a huge thanks to you, Megan, because you have left so many incredibly thoughtful comments on my videos with various recommendations, so I really appreciate you. No Time to Spare by Ursula K. Le Guin. So I have a sample of this that I'll read the sample and see what I think. Then I got a recommendation for The Housekeeper and the Professor. I think this was also on that Books About Math video, and this is a recommendation by Aziza Jones. 2 recommendations for graphic novels by Megan Stanbridge, Persepolis and Ducks. I could get a sample of Ducks and not Persepolis. So I will sample Ducks and we'll see if I can actually get it from my library. I'm gonna go water now and then I'll check back in. So I just got done reading my sample of Ducks, 2 Years in the Oil Sands by Kate Beaton. I really enjoyed this sample. I took 3 screenshots because I wanted to talk about these quotes. One is, "A deep love for home and the knowledge of how frequently we have to leave it to find work somewhere else." And I just thought that that was so sad. It feels very common. The other was, "I learned that I can have opportunity or I can have home. I cannot have both, and either will always hurt." I don't know, it's just so sad to have to choose between money and home. I feel like it's just becoming more common for that to be the case. I should mention, this is set in Canada. She's from Nova Scotia, and she's going to Alberta for the oil fields. And then this last one, "I got what I got, and it's a BA, and there's no jobs. I chose what I loved and thought I could make it work." The whole sample that I read is pretty much about this woman. She's 21. She's graduated from college. She got a BA. She has her parents who are very conflicted. They're like, "Well, you can get a good paying job in town as like a nurse or a teacher, but you can never give up on your gift, like her art." And she's like, "I can't do both." I decided to go to college for a paying degree, which isn't exactly aligned with my passions. So I went to school for mechanical engineering. There were things that I considered and I definitely did not pursue because there was not work. I feel like it's very common for young people, either when they're going into college, to be making these considerations where they're like, okay, I have this passion, but there's no work available for this and I need to make money, so what am I gonna do? Or after they graduate and they have a degree where they can't get a job in that degree, and then they're like, I need to make money, so I'm gonna do not my degree. The sample leaves off on page 43, which is pretty decently in there. I really enjoyed this, and I would definitely consider at least getting a copy of this from the library and reading the whole thing. I'm definitely interested in finishing reading that. Now I'm gonna take a shower, feed the animals, and maybe I'll sample something else, but no promises because I do have to go to sleep. It is bedtime. I have to go to bed now, but I did just finish reading the sample of The Housekeeper and the Professor. I want to finish reading this book. I'm so enjoying it. I'm really enjoying this book. I guess I should tell you what it's about. It's about a woman who is a housekeeper, and she starts working with a professor. He's a mathematician, but he has a brain injury where he can only remember the last 80 minutes. So he can remember things from 1975 and before, but after that, he only has an 80-minute short-term memory. He doesn't know anything new. He has all of these notes attached to himself. She describes herself as professional. She is very, very willing to try to do her best at what she perceives as her job. They're hitting it off. They're having a great time with each other, and I'm so excited to read more of their relationship, so I have to either get it from my library or buy it. The quotes. The professor never really seemed to care whether we figured out the right answer to a problem. He preferred our wild, desperate guesses to silence, and he was even more delighted when those guesses led to new problems that took us beyond the original one. Soon after I began working for the professor, I realized that he talked about numbers whenever he was unsure of what to say or do. Numbers were also his way of reaching out to the world. They were safe, a source of comfort. There are plenty of proofs that are technically correct, but are messy and inelegant or counterintuitive. But it's not something you can put into words. Explaining why a formula is beautiful is like trying to explain why the stars are beautiful. So loving this. It, to be perfectly honest, is kind of reminding me of the relationship of North Number 2 and the old man from Pluto. So in Pluto, this robot shows up to, I think he's blind, to this old musician's house to help out this man as like his assistant. He specifically doesn't like robots, and North Number 2 breaks into his cold heart. So it's a little different, but the vibes are similar, and I'm just digging the heck out of it. So far, your recommendations are really killing it. I'm thinking that before I go to sleep, if I don't just immediately fall asleep when I go lay down, I will be reading The Library of Babel. Hello, it is Tuesday evening, and I did start reading that story, The Library of Babel, last night, and I got like 2 pages in. So I'm gonna try to finish reading that now. So I've tucked into bed early today, so I had to get up out of bed to talk to you guys. I just finished reading The Library of Babel by Jorge Luis Borges. I can't say that I loved it. I didn't love it. I like it, and I like thinking about it. I feel like I also might have read this in high school. Like, it was so vaguely familiar. It's a short story. It's very short. It's just a handful of pages long. There's a library made up of these hexagonal rooms. On 5 of the walls, there are bookshelves that all have books the same exact length. There is like every possible combination of, I think it's letters, commas, and periods. There's all these librarians. So I think this is my favorite thing, and this will be a spoiler. There's not really any plot to this. It's just like presenting a place and an idea, because that is kind of like Flatland. That is kind of like Einstein's dreams. So there are some footnotes in this story, and there was a footnote that says, in earlier times, there was 1 man for every 3 hexagons. Suicide and diseases of the lung have played havoc with that proportion. An unspeakably melancholy memory. I have sometimes traveled for nights on end, down corridors and polished staircases, without coming across a single librarian. That little peek into how this library functions was my most favorite. Diseases of the lung. Like, what is this environment like? Why are we getting, like, is it damp? Like, is there no airflow? Like, is like the dust from the books getting to these guys? And also the suicide. Yes, like if you were in charge of 3 hexagons and you flipped open a book and you're like, this is utterly incomprehensible. Flip open another. You go through all of the books in your area and not a single one means a single thing to you. I can imagine going a little crazy. And also just the concept that every single possible combination already exists. Like, that I think is the key. Enjoyed that. It was originally published in Spanish in 1941. I have to get my copy of Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, which I can see right up here. I'm gonna use my new step stool. I don't know how much to read, so maybe I'll just look and see how much the first chapter is. Oh, so I'm gonna get a disease of the lung from flipping through old books. I love that this is annotated. I love getting books that are annotated. Okay, so chapter 1 goes to page 16.
Dewis. Hi. Oh, hi, sweetheart. Big Al. Hi, Big Al.
Hello. This is the following day. I got a flu shot today. So, big things are happening. It was supposed to rain. Did not rain. So I did indeed have to water my garden. I read the first chapter of Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance by Robert M. Pirsig. I ended up reading it on my phone because I woke up at 4 in the morning and it's less disruptive to read on one's phone in the middle of the night because of the screen illumination. So I got a free sample. This is the amount that is chapter 1. It's not much. I don't know how to put this. So far, this perspective is kind of familiar to me, but also I've never heard it so in depth. So I am appreciating hearing these thoughts. See this? He's literally just biting my shoulder. Are you teething? So. Stop. No. I will. Ow! I put him down and he literally like lunged at my leg and bit it. So, don't. You play with your sister and you don't bite me. Our main guy, he is on a motorcycle road trip with some friends of his. It was just kind of like observing the scenery on the side of the road, like talking a bit about being on a motorcycle, that compared to being on a car, being on the scenic routes or the side roads compared to being on the freeway, a little bit of slower life stuff. Then he gets into this very interesting comparison of, why are we chaos incarnate? So he's drawing a comparison between himself, a man who places importance on maintaining his own motorcycle, and then his friend and his wife, his friend's wife, who do not even want to know how to maintain their own motorcycle. It's very, I don't need to know that. I should be able to read the manual. This should just work. And I shouldn't have to think about it. I can pay other people to think about it. He frames this in a way of they don't want to think about technology. They don't want to address that technology is in their world. They want to like remove themselves from it. I thought that was kind of interesting. So I have a few quotes. I'm getting kind of similar vibes as Operating Manual for Spaceship Earth. I'm almost feeling the same way about this, except the language is far more comprehensible. We're in such a hurry most of the time, we never get much chance to talk. The result is a kind of endless day-to-day shallowness, a monotony that leaves a person wondering years later where all the time went, and sorry that it's all gone. But one does not convert individuals into mass people with the simple coining of a mass term. John and Sylvia are not mass people, and neither are most of the others going their way. I have never in my life thought about that idea where you can group people together, but that does not mean that they're acting like a group. Like if I think of homesteaders, for example, are largely acting as individuals. Calling them a group doesn't actually indicate that they are one. You know what I mean? I've just never thought of that before. Did I have anything else? No Time to Spare. I finished this last night. Did I talk to you guys about this at all? I feel like I didn't. I really, really enjoyed this. I do want to read this. This is by her when she's an older woman. She's in her 80s, and she's writing a blog. And she sets out the ground rules at the beginning. She's like, I'm inspired by Jose Saramago. I do not want to reply or interact with you in any way, which I just love. I'm really on the same page as her on a lot of things. I really appreciated hearing that perspective, but from such an older woman. I really want to read the rest of this book. It was very nice. So let's see, what are my favorite quotes from the ones that I highlighted? Well, there's one where she's talking about when her kids were young, she thought that there was hope for the environment, and now she has much darker thoughts about our future because it's all fucked up. So there's one essay or blog post where she's talking about how she's gotten a request to fill out a survey for her college reunion. There was like, what do you think is the most important issue facing us today, or something like that? And there was an option that was economic stability and growth for the US. That stymied me totally. What a marvelous example of capitalist thinking, or non-thinking, to consider growth and stability as the same thing. I finally wrote in the margin, you can't have both, and didn't check a box. The opposite of spare time is, I guess, occupied time. In my case, I still don't know what spare time is, because all my time is occupied. It always has been, and it is now. It is occupied by living. I also really liked this one. It is the bright side of Puritanism. What you deserve is what you get. Never mind just now about the dark side. I really like her commentary on just the things that she's experiencing in her old age. Great suggestion. And with that, I think I finished all of my samples. Thank you all so much for your recommendations. Please, any of you, let me know more of your recommendations. I would love to do more of this type of thing. One of my favorite things to do is to sample the manga series that y'all suggest. Please, let me know your recommendations. And thank you again so much for 500 subscribers. I am so grateful. I have been having a wonderful time, and especially reading your comments. If you enjoyed this video, please consider sharing it with a friend who you think would also enjoy it. Consider liking and subscribing, and I will be back again soon. The celebration is officially over, and I so appreciate you being here with me for this. Goodbye.